Welcome to the Broadcasting Lectures. This is Lecture 4 of Irish Broadcasting's History, looking at the 1930s. Broadcasting in Ireland in the 1930s was strictly controlled by the government and the Department of Posts and Telegraphs. In March 1932, Eamon de Valera's Fianna Fáil party was elected in the government, and he appointed as Minister in Charge from 1933 to 1937 was Mr. Jerry Boland, TD. 2RN had been on the air for 4 years. They continued to broadcast only really to the Dublin area, which led to complaints, especially in the national newspapers, about the unavailability of the service to rural areas. 6CK, which was based in Cork, had opened but closed due to financial difficulties. A high-powered 60 kilowatt transmitter was installed in ATHLONE in County Westmeath to cover the entire country. This transmitter was due to go on the air in 1933. The government of the day sped up the plans for it to go live in order to cater for the EUCHARISTIC Congress, a Catholic festival which was held in Dublin in 1932. Eamon de Valera officially opened the radio station known as Radio ATHLONE on February 6, 1933. Radio ATHLONE began life on 413 meters medium wave, but the Lucerne Conference altered this to 513 meters medium wave. This made it very difficult for the Irish listener as they did not know when they turned on their set where they could find their channel. But on some of the more modern radios that were coming out, especially by Pi, it showed on the dial where exactly to find ATHLONE. In 1937, with 2RN now closed and 6CK closed, the service was renamed Radio EIREANN. Their studios were located just beside the GPO, and by landline this was connected to the ATHLONE transmitter. In the early days, 2RN were unable to take advertising, but they got around this by using a medium called sponsored programming. This was very important as it paid to cover the cost of the ATHLONE transmitter. The first sponsored program, featured Utimol Poo-Paste, was broadcast on the 31st of December 1927. Throughout the 30s, the independent newspapers sponsored the Slumber Hour, PJ Carroll sponsored the Sweet Afton Varieties, and the Savoy Cocoa Company sponsored Savoy Minstrels. The Irish Sweepstakes program was an important program as it helped promote ticket sales for the Irish Sweepstake. And one of the most important shows and one of the longest lasting sponsored programs was the Waltons programs, hosted by Leo Maguire, with his famous saying, "If you like singing, do sing an Irish song." The 1926 Wireless Telegraphy Act was supposed to be a deterrent towards pirate broadcasting, illegal broadcasting, but one young man in Limerick broke all the rules. Jim O'Carroll attended the Technical Institute on O'Connell Avenue in the city, and he had a keen interest in electronics. While experimenting, he built a crystal radio receiving set, which allowed him to listen to 2RN, the BBC, and with improvements he was able to listen to broadcast from America and Australia in his native town of Limerick. In 1935, O'Carroll added an oscillator to his receiving set, and tuned his transmitter and turned it into a transmitter. This was powerful enough to be heard all over the city. After testing its limitation, O'Carroll had to find a new home for its station, as living with his sister was not the ideal location for secrecy. He eventually found a location on the 3rd floor of the home of his friend Charlie O'Connor at 84 Henry Street. On screen is a picture of the Wolf Tone Dairy, which is the Logue building on your left hand side. This company was to be the first ever in Ireland to pay for advertising on radio. As with our 2RN, it was only sponsored programs. They advertised their products including ice cream and home delivery of milk. The station in Limerick was now called the City Broadcasting Station, CBS, and they played gramophone records and announced what movie was shown in the local picture house. On air most nights from 7 to 11 on 520 meters medium wave. The station was operated by presenters like Billy Dynamite, who was O'Carroll, and Al Dubin, who was O'Connor. at the controls. They broadcasted a mix of speech, gramophone records, and they relayed programs from American radio. They even managed to broadcast swimming lessons on the radio. The station continued from February to October that year, with the only change being its location. The station moved to the home of Michael Madden on 25 Wolfstone Street, who had been providing the batteries for the station. The station went from strength to strength, but on October 31st, Halloween, while Michael Madden was on air, the station was raided by the police, and an engineer from the post office named Walter Dane. Madden was arrested, and the equipment was confiscated. Following a court case in February 1936, Madden was convicted and fined £1 and 2 guineas costs. During the court case, Garda Lenihan said that during the broadcast, names were mentioned and scandalous remarks were used. It was to be the first conviction under the 1926 Wireless Telegraphy Act, but not the last. Michael O'Hare made his first broadcast on the 14th of August 1938. Michael O'Hare became synonymous with GAA broadcasts, and his first broadcast was the All-Ireland semi-final between Laois and Kerry. He continued to work on Radio EIREANN and RTE, broadcasting GAA matches and horse racing up until his illness in 1985. Our next lecture will focus on the 1940s. Lord Haw-Haw, who broadcasted Nazi propaganda, the Churchill and De Valera battle over the airwaves, and we will look at the IRA pirate